Good morning, friends. Thanks for being here this morning for Journey Home Meditation's morning sit. I'm Michael. I'll be holding this space this morning as we do a little bit of contemplation, some meditative practices, some breath work. And I guess I'm just real happy to be here today. Let's go ahead and start with just a few breaths together. You can begin just by slightly adjusting your posture if you'd like, just lengthening the spine. What we are trying to do is accommodate the breath, and just 3 easy breaths, no big deal. So breathing in through the nose and release. All right, thank you. I'm taking that little bit of time in any moment to just catch up with your own body can be really beneficial. And I needed that this morning. And it's funny to say things like, we say that often. I needed that. It's when we meet a need that we were ignoring for whatever reason. And then when the need is met, it's like this feeling of gratitude, relief, recognition of, what it is to be met where you are. All these things come up at once. And I don't think there's ever been a moment that I took 3 conscious breaths and thought, I could have done without that. I could have done without that breath. But yeah, here we are. So I'm hoping that the audio quality of this broadcast is a little better than it was a couple days ago. And we're just, always working out the smoothness of the technology surrounding this meditation program that I have. And I'm grateful for your patience to stick through this. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about this morning, and I'm noticing right now, even just after those 3 breaths, part of the sense of urgency to talk about these things has already diminished. So that's a good thing. Because, I think that if there's a lot of passion and a lot of, that sense of urgency to focus on a particular subject or idea, we can oftentimes exaggerate the experience of that thing instead of diminish it, especially if it's a problem. So I'm glad that we took those breaths, because now I feel a little more centered in wanting to talk about this thing that I've been thinking about the ways in which we fulfill our desires. It's interesting to be a person who shares ideas with others when it comes to things that people take very personally. So as a meditation teacher, I oftentimes will work through questions and answers in the the sits that I do in person with people, and um, sometimes people will ask a question, and I'll give an answer, and my answer is not ever the reigning authority on anything. These are just my experiences and my ideas, and some of them, I when I don't have a strong notion of how this could affect my life, I'm getting lost here. Sometimes I go back and rely upon the teachings of my teachers, because there's nuggets of wisdom throughout these teachings that I think are pretty universal. And so I'll share those. And it's interesting, and this is for myself as well. When we hear a teaching that goes against what we identify with, we become really resistant, and we try to find the places to poke the holes. And this happens often when we talk about desire, when we talk about the ways in which desire can be functioning in our lives as sort of the usher of suffering. And it's one that I grapple with myself. You know what, let me turn this. Okay, that's better. There was a loud fan on behind me. Um, when we're talking about desiring as being this place of suffering, it's interesting the way that our mind wants to instantly defend and reject and resist, and it brings up all of these places within us where we just want to walk away from whatever the teaching is. And when I sit with the teachings that the Buddha had around desire, uh, talking about desire being the root of suffering, and then I contrast that with Valentine's Day, and I think about my desire to be with my loved one, my lover, my desire for intimacy with my lover, my desire for companionship, my desire for whatever it may be that's related to that romantic relationship, or even just a non-romantic, intimate relationship that you have with someone, the way that we desire that. And then my instinct there, my training is to say, well, not all desire is bad, right? No, come on now. Let's get real here. Some desire is good. The desire for safety keeps us alive. And we start trying to create all of these really sound justifications for an argument against the teaching. But when we sit and we open ourselves to what the teaching is, we get beyond the false dichotomy paradigm, like this idea that there's these two things that are, one is true and one is false, one is good and one is bad. We get beyond that and we realize that the teachings aren't saying what's good or what's bad. It's just saying that this leads to this. And I think about that a lot in my life with my experience of intimacy and my desire for intimacy, and my translation to my need for intimacy. And it makes me curious about how much my belief that intimacy is this external experience with another, that on a physical level, that has led me to be manipulative in a way that I didn't even understand, or led me to make allowances for things that were harmful, whether they were my behaviors or someone else's behaviors, but I would overlook them because my perceived need for intimacy, my desire for intimacy was so strong that it overpowered those things. And then to go even further with that, how often have I created and built resentments when I did not receive the intimacy that I was desiring? How often do I create these feelings of low self-value, low self-worth, because I'm not receiving the intimacy from another? And I look through my life, and it's pretty often. And this is a common story throughout my life. This this thing, and we can sit and we can do the inner explorations, and we can try to figure out maybe where that first teacher was that created those beliefs. Um, but in the moment right now, I don't think we need to do deep psychotherapy to come to a place of calm and acceptance of what we experience. And I know that this feels a little convoluted because I'm honestly, I'm a bit distracted by a lot of sounds that are occurring right now, and I'm seeing myself look towards the clock, which I got started a bit later than I intended to today. Um, but really, what I wanted to touch upon is that I feel like there is a strong um, teaching for us to explore the ideas about intimacy that we hold. What belief system do you have about intimacy? What do you hold to be true and not true about intimacy for you? And where in that is there room for growing and understanding it differently? Where within your belief system about when you deserve intimacy or when you need intimacy from another, where is there an opening there for you to sit with discomfort until you find what that voice really is? And I think that this is one of the reasons that people who enter into monastic life, whether it's in a Buddhist monastery or an ashram, a Hindu mandir, a Catholic nunnery or monastery, wherever it may be, right, in whatever form it may look, to enter into celibacy and to really restrict the level of physical intimacy shared with another, I believe may have a lot of really good lessons within it for learning how to be intimate within the self. Learning that intimacy is not this necessarily restricted to a physical experience of another being, right? Which is wonderful, right? Touch is a wonderful, healing, beautiful thing. It is when our desire for intimacy exceeds our ability to understand when we are abusing relationships to receive it, when we are ignoring what our body is really asking for, when we give it intimacy instead of giving it care, giving it tenderness. Um, when we replace our emotional intimacy and um, our willingness to explore ideas with one another, or even just share silent space and comfort, to hold a gaze with someone, to sit bedside with someone who is suffering, the intimacy that is inherent in preparing a meal and serving someone food, the intimacy of listening to a person tell you about their day. These levels of intimacy are often so scarce or so difficult to touch into. We move so quickly through these things that we end up needing the sort of saccharine sweet intimacy of sexual relationships or romantic touch to try to fill the void for all of the other places in our life where we don't have intimacy. And I've talked before about monogamous and non-monogamous relationships, and we oftentimes, I mean, almost always exclusively relate that to romantic relationships. But what if we were to inspect how often we have monogamous emotional relationships with non-romantic partners, with friends, with family, where we put all of our emotional monogamy into this person, and we are strictly devoted to this person to meet this one need or to provide this one need to them. And we somehow justify that as thinking that this is uh, my best friend, this is my bestie, this is my closest sibling, this is whatever this is. But really, I want to ask, and I'm just asking, and I ask myself, is this level of emotional monogamy actually creating a manipulative relationship with this person where I then use it as a transactional relationship? Can I open my emotional uh, needs and fulfillments to more than just this one thing? Am I looking for something much different or much deeper than that physical intimacy, but I'm only knowing how to find the the semblance of it in that physical touch? There's nothing in any of this saying that physical touch is wrong or bad. There's nothing in this saying that monogamy is wrong or bad, or multiple relationships are wrong. There's no dichotomy here, and there's no argument against anything. There's just a questioning of what is here. What is this? What is this experience? What is this thing? When I feel dejected or hurt or rejected or abandoned, when I don't receive the intimacy I long for, what is that? What is that? Where does that come from? So that means that not only is the wound that I'm carrying much deeper than just that physical relationship, the need probably is as well. The need to heal that wound is not going to take place in that sexual encounter today. But not having that sexual encounter, not getting that physical intimacy may be tapping into your resentments and your feelings of abandonment or fear of rejection or low self-value. And that's where your work is. That's where the work is. And when I say the work, what I mean is that is where falling in love is. That's where we fall in love. We fall into it. We start getting into that deep personal place with our own experiences and our own self, and we do the introspective work, and then we understand this hurting person that's inside of us, and we tend to it and we care for it, and we become intimate with that. And then that person can open, and that wound can start to heal as it receives light and air, and you're watering it, and all of these things that you're doing by tending to those experiences. And that's where real love starts to blossom. We start to fall in love with ourselves, and we start to understand, that our mistakes are not our defining characteristics. We start to understand that the things that we did when we thought we were getting what we needed, that's not necessary. And we can just be in our own body, in our own skin, and with the people we care for in a way that is much deeper than we ever thought. And that's kind of where I'm trying to get to, where I'm trying to pursue with this. So thanks for being here this morning. I'd like to take a few more of those breaths together and maybe enter into a little bit of that meditative state if we can. So I believe that my sound equipment is working properly this morning. There we go. So let's let the sound of the bell remind us what we're here to do, where we are in this moment together. If you have the ability to close your eyes, you can close your eyes gently. Elongate the spine, relax the shoulders, relax the face, the neck. Try to open that front body, the chest, the belly. And as you breathe in, let the belly enlarge and collapse, enlarge and collapse. As you're breathing out, really release the air that you're holding. Find the deeper places in the body where you're grasping or holding on to something. Really let the shoulders relax, let the chest drop. Feel the lungs that fill into the back of your body, feel them release, and the muscles begin to relax from everything you're holding on to. Just let it go for a moment. Let go of your resistance to new ideas. You don't have to believe them either. There's nothing here you have to grasp onto or adopt. We're just watching the opening. All right, thanks for being here this morning. And thank you for your patience with my scattered thoughts today. Even when I'm scattered, I like to show up, and I would like it if you wanted to show up. You can message me, journeyhomemeditation@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment on the Substack. Um, Again, we're going to be leaving all Meta platforms here very, very soon. So the new home for Journey Home is going to be at Substack. I'm going to place that into the chat here. That's the link. That's going to be available on YouTube or on our Facebook channels to check out that link. And you can join the Substack for free. And once we get our flow, there will be a lot more content going in there, and hopefully including some discussions and back and forth with you. So reach out. I appreciate you. Thanks for being willing to open up the questions a bit today. We'll see where that can go. And happy Valentine's Day. A day that celebrates love, a day that celebrates union and coming together in all of its forms, all of its beautiful ways that it manifests and plays out in our communities. You know, queer love, Black love, your love, my love, like all of these different loves, all of these ways that we can take a moment to recognize that we are held and we can hold one another. And that can be a very empowering and beautiful way forward. I just want to make sure that when I come into that, I'm coming not to take away or to steal from someone, but to offer. And to do that, I just need to take a few breaths. All right, everyone, enjoy your day.